By midnight, the sketch would sell for $3 million, but at 10 a.m., it was just a scrap of paper clutched against an old woman's coat. Inside, Julian Vance didn't look up from his catalog. He ran a gallery that priced by name, not by hand. She pushed through the door, the bell a tiny interruption in the sterile space. Her wrinkled hands unwrapped brown paper, revealing a simple charcoal sketch of hands. The paper was yellowed, the strokes delicate, the initials DF barely visible in the corner.
It's a doodle, not even worth framing. My advice, keep it as a memory.
My husband always said it was special. I just wanted to know if it had any value.
Special. Every grandmother thinks that. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Dorothy rewrapped the sketch with trembling hands. She didn't argue. Dignity was all she had left.
That hand. I've seen that hand before.
Lydia stood frozen, watching the old woman disappear into the rain. Then she turned to the man at the desk.
The woman who just left, did she leave a name? A number? That sketch?
That doodle? No, and I didn't ask. Amateur hour. Don't tell me you saw something cross.
Something. Elias Voss used to draw hands exactly like that. I've studied his studies for years.
She didn't argue. She excused herself, walked to her office, and opened her office and let the feeling finish natural act. Within 20 minutes, she had pulled up every Voss study archived online. The charcoal line work, the pressure, the angle of the knuckles. It was uncanny. She found a 1968 catalog photo of the seamstress, Voss's most famous piece. The hands in the painting matched the sketch's composition.
This could be the original study. If she still has it, she might have no idea.
Julian had called it worthless and sent her away. But Lydia had spent a decade authenticating Voss works. She knew a study when she saw one.
I need to find her, before someone else does.
It took 3 days and a favor from a records clerk, but Lydia Cross found her, a walk-up on the city's quiet side.
Yes, can I help you?
Mrs. Finch? My name is Lydia Cross. I am an art authenticator. May I speak with you about the sketch you brought to Vance Gallery?
The sketch? Why? That man said it was worthless.
Minutes later, the chain was off. Dorothy set a kettle on, and the sketch lay between them on a worn lace tablecloth. Lydia produced a magnifying glass. She studied the paper, the stroke weight, the initial letters.
This paper is French, mid-1960 S. And the hand that drew this, was it your husband's?
My husband kept it. He said it came from someone we once knew. Long ago.
She didn't say who. She didn't say how. Lydia felt the shudder.
She's protecting something. But what? Mrs. Finch, I'd like to take this to a lab. Just a quick test. Paper, pigment, age. It won't hurt it.
You think it's really worth something? After what that gallery man said.
I think it deserves a look by someone who cares about art, not just names. I'll return it tomorrow.
By evening, the sketch lay under a spectral camera in a forensic laboratory downtown. Cellulose dating confirmed 1968. The charcoal matched a quarry used by Voss. The lab report read consistent and exceptional. But Julian Vance had eyes. A gallery assistant who'd seen Lydia asking around called him in alarm.
Get me the Voss estate. That Cross woman is stirring up trouble with a forgery, and I won't have my name linked to it. An unidentified sketch, a senile widow, and a so-called authenticator. Protect the estate's reputation. Send a letter.
2 days later, a cease and desist from the Voss estate's lawyers arrived, threatening legal action for false attribution.
They're scared, which means I am right, but time is running out.
The cease and desist didn't stop her. It told Lydia exactly where to dig. She drove to the Voss archive, a cavern of locked drawers and yellowing folders. Inside a box marked 1968 correspondence, a letter in elegant cursive. Dear Dot, your studies for the hands are better than mine. E.V.
Dot, Dorothy. He admitted her hand was better. That's not a passive muse.
She tracked down an elderly dealer who'd worked with Voss in the 1960s. His memory was hazy, but sharp enough. The old man tapped his cane. Dorothy Finch. Yes, she modeled for the seamstress. Quiet girl. She'd sit with a charcoal sometimes, but nothing serious, just helping.
But her initials are on the study. Voss himself praised her hand. Why praise a helper that much?
He shrugged. He was kind, maybe didn't care about credit. She was a shadow, that's all. Julian's second letter arrived the next day. Drop the charade, cross or face a defamation suit you cannot afford.
They're circling the wagons. But a sketch, a letter, and a woman who deserves to be heard. I am close. I just need one more thing.
Dorothy opened the door again. This time, without hesitation, she saw the look on Lydia's face and stepped back.
Mrs. Finch, I found a letter from Elias Voss. He called you Dot. He wrote that your studies for the hands were better than his.
Without a word, Dorothy walked to a drawer and pulled out a leather sketchbook, her hands shaking visibly. The sketchbook fell open on the table. Page after page of the same hands, the study's hands drawn over and over.
I drew those. They're just copies. I studied his work, that's all.
Mrs. Finch, these aren't copies. The line is too confident. Voss didn't draw these. You did. I know a primary hand.
Dorothy closed the sketchbook, her hands pressing flat, as if sealing a tomb.
Please stop. You are making this into something it's not.
Then why did Voss write that you were better? Why did you keep it hidden all these years?
I just want to be left alone. Please, go.
After Lydia left, the apartment swallowed itself in silence. Hours later, another knock, sharp, impatient.
Mrs. Finch, Julian Vance. Open up. We need to settle this misunderstanding before it gets out of hand.
She let him in. His cologne filled the small room like a warning.
$10,000. Cash. All you do is sign a paper saying the sketch is a family copy, and you never met Lydia Cross.
Why would I sign a lie? For money. I've lived without it just fine.
Because it's a smart exit. Otherwise, I'll make sure your name is poison. Galleries, dealers, no one will touch you. Sign and vanish.
I'd rather keep my poison than your money, Mr. Vance. Now take your envelope and leave.
She didn't raise her voice. She just opened the door and waited. He strode out and she closed it without a slam.
Not today, not ever.
3 days of silence. Then, in the back of a drawer, behind old bills, her fingers met a stiff envelope she didn't recognize. She opened it. A photograph slid out, a girl at an easel, charcoal in hand, the very sketch half finished beneath her fingers. The date on the back, April 1968.
That's me. I buried this so deep I almost believed it wasn't true.
She was still staring when the knock came. Lydia, back one more time, a file of papers in her bag.
Come in. There's something you need to see.
She placed the photograph on the table beside the sketch and the letter from Voss. 3 pieces of the same truth, finally touching.
It's her. The pose. The charcoal. The sketch right there. Undeniable.
I drew it. Alone. Voss told me no one would buy a woman's lines. I believed him.
No more hiding. Dot. Not one more day.
She pulled Dorothy into a fierce embrace, and the older woman sobbed, decades of silence draining away at last. By noon the next day, they sat across a polished table from 2 auction house specialists, the sketch between them. The senior specialist turned the photograph over. A Voss study without his name? The market won't know what to do with it.
It's my study, not his. I have the proof.
We have the photograph, the letter from Voss, and the sketchbook. That's a closed case.
They passed the evidence down the table. The second specialist leaned back. Finally, the senior man spoke. If this holds, it's a rediscovery. We'll take the gamble. Under your name, Mrs. Finch. A contract was drafted that afternoon. Lydia called a journalist she trusted, reading the press release she'd prepared, but Julian's assistant had a crawler on Lydia's emails. He saw the release before it went live.
You want to play public opinion? I'll bury you in noise.
Within hours, a blog post appeared on his gallery's site, calling Dorothy a fraud and Lydia a grave robber.
He's flooding the airwaves. Now we need to be louder.
Lydia called the producer, who owed her a favor. 24 hours later, Dorothy sat under hot studio lights. A makeup artist dabbed powder on her cheek. Lydia leaned in. "Just tell them what you told me." When the host asked why she stayed silent for decades, Dorothy's answer didn't waver.
I was afraid. I was told nobody buys a woman's lines. I believed it until a stranger saw what I hid.
She held up the photograph from 1968. The camera zoomed in on a girl with charcoal on her fingers.
She's delusional. No one will believe a weepy widow. The blog post already has its hooks in.
By the next morning, the clip pulled 3 million views. Comments flooded every platform, overwhelmingly in her favor. The morning paper ran a full-column photo of Dorothy holding the sketch. The front page headline, "The doodle was a masterpiece," but beneath the headline, a sub-article carried the Voss estate's latest threat. "We will pursue legal remedies for false attribution."
It's not over, but they can't ignore us anymore. The auction house is standing firm.
2 days after the viral interview, the Voss estate caved. Their public retraction dropped the lawsuit threat and admitted new evidence had emerged. That new evidence landed the same afternoon. A letter from Voss, penned to a confidant. "Dot's hands are better than mine ever were. The study is hers." By sunrise, the auction catalog went live. Lot 47 read, "Dorothy Finch, B.1946, study for the seamstress, 1968.
My name on an auction block.
And it's going to start a bidding war. I feel it.
At the press conference that evening, Dorothy stood before a dozen microphones. A reporter asked what she'd do with the proceeds.
I'll build a place where age and gender don't bury talent. The door is open now.
In his empty gallery, Julian watched the live stream. His hand, gripping a whiskey tumbler, was white.
He's irrelevant now, Dot. The world's moved on.
The auction was set for Saturday. Advance inquiries had already broken records. A new chapter was about to be written. On auction morning, Dorothy stared out her window, the wrapped sketch on the table behind her. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Her phone buzzed. A text from a number she hadn't blocked in time. The message read, "Enjoy watching it flop, old woman. Nobody buys a nobody's lines. Vance."
He's right. I should never have agreed to this.
She turned from the window and pulled a small suitcase from the closet, her movements jerky and panicked.
Dorothy? Open up. Why aren't you answering your phone?
Lydia stepped inside and saw the suitcase. Her expression hardened into steel.
I can't do it. I am nobody, Lydia. Just a shadow who got lucky.
You are the woman who drew the hands that Voss couldn't. If you run now, you prove him right.
Dorothy closed the suitcase without another word and picked up her coat. She was going. The auction hall was a cathedral of money, hum of silk and ambition. Dorothy stepped inside on Lydia's arm. They slid into seats in the side aisle, nearly out of sight. Dorothy pressed a hand to her chest. On stage, a velvet easel held her sketch. The spotlight hit the charcoal, and 100 cameras blinked.
Lot 47. Study for the seamstress. Charcoal on paper, 1968. Will open at $10,000.
A paddle went up before he finished speaking. Then another. 10,000 became 50 before Dorothy could exhale. The display clicked without mercy. 100,000, 200, 350.
They know what it's worth. Breathe, Dot.
Near the back, Julian Vance stood rigid, his face bloodless. His lips moved, a private curse no one heard.
I have 400,000, 450. Now 500, who'll give me 550?
My pencil strokes. They're bidding on my pencil strokes.
A tall woman in a cobalt suit, the Renway Foundation's chief curator, raised her paddle against a voice on the phone bank. The battle was on. The board flashed furiously. 700,000, 900, 1,100,000. The room began to murmur. Dorothy clutched Lydia's wrist so tightly her knuckles blanched. She had stopped breathing. 3 rows from the back, Julian's complexion turned the color of old bone. His hands were fists.
I have 1.5 million. Do I hear 1.6?
The telephone bidder, a faceless voice from a private collector, countered every foundation paddle with a whisper to the assistant. 2 million. The display blinked green and a collective inhale sucked the air from the hall.
It's not done yet.
The phone bidder's assistant held up a single finger. The auctioneer translated, 2,100,000. Julian's jaw unhinged. He did not sit. He stared at the lot number as if it had personally betrayed him. The bidding war consolidated into 2 voices, the foundation and the phone. 2,000,005, 2,000,008.
2,800,000. I have 2.8 million. Any advance from the room? 2.8. Going once, twice.
The phone assistant nodded and whispered the number. The bidder's hand came up like a sword. 3 million.
$3 million. I have 3 million from the telephone. 3 million is on the table. Ladies and gentlemen.
The room inhaled as one. Dorothy's hand flew to her mouth, and the tears started, silent and unstoppable.
3 million. For my hands, for all the years I hid them.
Julian turned away from the stage, pressing one palm flat against the wall, his shoulders rigid with defeat.
Fair warning, ladies and gentlemen. At $3 million, I am going to sell. Any further bids? Last chance.
The gavel rose, a silver pendulum suspended above the block. The whole room held its breath. Silence stretched like a wire. No paddles lifted, no whispers. The hammer began its final arc. The hammer cracked against the block, a clean, irrevocable sound.
Sold for $3 million.
Dorothy didn't register the roar. She only felt Lydia's arms encircle her, the sob tearing free from a place she had sealed in 1968. The room rose, a wall of applause and camera flashes. 100 people clapping for the silver-haired woman in the side aisle.
I am seen.
At the back, Julian detached from the wall and moved toward the service exit. His face a mask of defeat no one noticed. No lens found him. The story had no room for ghost villains now. The doodle Julian Vance, dismissed with a sneer, had just sold for $3 million. And the whole world watched it happen.
You did it, Dot. You are free.
She held on to Lydia's hand, and for the first time in more than 50 years, Dorothy Finch let herself be held. An auction official gestured toward the podium, and Lydia's hand on her back became a gentle push. Dorothy walked slowly up the aisle, applause parting around her like water. She took the microphone, its weight trembling in her grasp.
I never expected this. This money isn't just for me. It's for everyone who was told their lines didn't matter.
Her voice steadied. She spoke the words she had rehearsed with Lydia 2 nights before.
With the proceeds of this sale, I am establishing the Dorothy Finch Residency for older overlooked artists. A place where age, gender, or history won't decide who gets to hold a brush.
The room understood. A fresh wave of applause, shorter but deeper, filled with respect. Reporters typed with furious speed. Cameras captured her face. No longer tearful but fierce with purpose, Lydia stood to the side, her glasses fogging, her smile the widest in the room. Dorothy Finch had not just sold a sketch. She had bought back a life's meaning. 6 weeks later, the National Gallery opened a small wing to the forgotten. A new brass plaque hung beside the seamstress. The engraving read, "Study for the Seamstress, 1968. Charcoal on paper, by Dorothy Finch, co-creator." Dorothy arrived in a dark blue dress, holding Lydia's arm. She stopped 3 feet from the wall.
It's really there. My name, after everything.
A museum guard stepped back respectfully. A few visitors paused, unsure if they should applaud.
Touch it. Dot, it's yours now.
Her fingertips traced the letters DOROTHYFINCH, the brass cool and permanent. Lydia raised her phone, capturing the moment. The old woman and her name side by side at last. A few gallery patrons began to clap. Dorothy didn't turn around. She just kept her hand on the wall. The art world had officially rewritten its record, and a 78-year-old widow had finally arrived. 3 months after the museum ceremony, the residency building in the old warehouse district smelled of fresh plaster and possibility. Dorothy walked through the bright, open studio. Easels stood waiting, and the first cohort of older artists had already started. One woman at a corner easel kept starting over. Charcoal strokes erased again and again. Dorothy stopped beside her.
You look like I did the morning of the auction, but it's never too late to be seen.
A journalist from the Arts Weekly approached for a quick interview. Dorothy sat on a low sawhorse, wiped her hands on her dress.
I didn't want anyone else to wait 50 years for someone to notice they could draw. That's the whole point of this place.
The reporter paused her recording. Dorothy's answer needed no editing. Across the room, a retired mailman was repairing a clay bust he'd started in 1971. He hadn't held a sculpting tool since the year he gave up. That evening, Dorothy lingered at the doorway, watching the first cohort bend over their work. The air smelled of fresh charcoal and wet clay.
This is what the money was for. This room.
On a bright October morning, a small crowd gathered outside the new residency. Dorothy Finch held a pair of scissors. She cut the ribbon with one clean motion, and the doors swung open. Inside, a brass plaque read, "In honor of Dorothy Finch, Artist 1968. Her hand rested against it. Then she turned to the small crowd, her voice clear and unhurried.
This place is for the ones who stopped drawing because someone said it didn't matter. It matters now. It's never too late to be seen. You are all proof of that.
Beside the sign-in, the sketch hung in a simple frame, the same doodle Julian Vance dismissed. The first cohort walked in, some carrying old sketchbooks, some empty-handed but full of resolve. Dorothy watched them settle at their stations. She didn't need to say anything else. The sketch that was deemed worthless had built a room where no artist would ever be overlooked again. A year later, the residency hummed with the sound of charcoal scratching and clay being wedged. Dorothy, at 79, sat at a drawing table near the window, a charcoal stick held loosely in her fingers. Across from her, a young student offered her hands as a model, still as a statue.
Hold right there, dear. The knuckles are what matter.
She sketched with the same sureness that had been locked in a drawer since 1968. Across town, the old Vance Gallery had been bought by the city and turned into a community art center. Seniors painted in the same room where Julian once sneered.
The pencil never forgets. It just waits.
She lifted the page, and the young woman's hands emerged from the charcoal like a memory recovered. Dorothy smiled, a small private curve of the lips, and dipped her charcoal once more. In the quiet studio, surrounded by second acts, she was exactly where she belonged. Late afternoon, the studio fell quiet enough to hear the hum of the skylights. Dorothy stood in the doorway, one hand on the frame. Her fingers found the plaque, her name, carved in brass. She traced it once, as she had in the museum, but this time without tears.
This is what the money was for, this room.
Across the room, the sketch watched from its frame, the same simple hands that had started it all. An older painter looked up from her canvas and nodded. Dorothy nodded back, the silent exchange of people who finally belong. She stepped fully inside, the door sighing shut behind her. She didn't go to her table. She just stood among the easels, breathing it in. The doodle that started it all didn't just sell for millions. It built a place where no artist would ever be overlooked again. Fade to black.